Video 2 of Sonic Month 2, let's get started! So, the Sega Game Gear, the handheld that's better than the Game Boy in quite a few different ways, but is still a poor man's Game Boy. Several Sonic games were released for this thing. Sonic Labyrinth, Sonic Spinball, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. But on top of those spin-off games, there were also several 8-bit side-scrolling action games released. 5, in fact. Yes, you heard me right, there are 5. I reviewed the first 2 last year when I reviewed the Master System versions of Sonic 1 and 2, which were also released for the Game Gear. Since I reviewed those last year, this year I had originally planned on talking about the next 2 8-bit Sonic games, Sonic Chaos and Sonic Triple Trouble, since they feel kind of like sequels, similar gameplay and graphics. But when I actually played them, I realized that I didn't really have much new to say about them, since they're really so similar. So I'll just briefly talk about them now, before going on to the real review. First things first, while I played Sonic 1 and 2 on the Master System, I'm playing these 2 games on the Game Gear. Sonic Chaos was released on the Master System, but in Europe only, and Triple Trouble was only released on the Game Gear. This means that these games are a lot more zoomed in, and they don't look quite as nice. And you can't see very far in front of you, which does sort of hurt the games a little bit. So, Sonic Chaos. You know, it kinda sucks that I don't yet have the Master System version of this game, because it's actually good. Honestly, pretty good. I think Sonic Chaos is even better than the 8-bit versions of Sonic 1 and 2. The level design is overall more fun, there's more loops and speedy bits and less slow and tedious platforming parts. They actually give you rings for the boss battles, and there's no stupid hang glider power-up. Instead, we have 2 new power-ups. These rocket boots, which are fun but not really used very much, and this spring that you can hop around on. Both of these power-ups are used decently well, and they're a lot of fun. You can play as Tails, which is nice, and Sonic has his Spin Dash ability, yes! Oh my god, that was so missed. Every level feels distinct, and although it would look a lot better on the Master System, the graphics are still pretty good for an 8-bit game. And the same goes for the music. A lot of the compliments that I had for Sonic 1 and 2 on the Master System still stand up here. Overall, I can definitely recommend Sonic Chaos. It is a great third 8-bit Sonic game. Sonic Triple Trouble, on the other hand, not quite as much. This game's not awful or anything, it's actually pretty good, but it's a little too easy. I was able to beat this game without really even trying. Sonic Chaos was definitely easier than the first 2, but it still felt like it had a good level of difficulty. But Sonic Triple Trouble leans a bit too far on the easy side, in my opinion. It's still relatively fun though, the power-ups and level design are very fun, and it gives you a great sense of speed. And oh my god, a robotic penguin. This boss needs to make a return in a modern 3D Sonic game, it's amazing. Not because it's actually a good fight or anything, the fight's actually extremely easy, laughably so actually. No, this boss needs to come back because, I mean, look at it! It's a robotic flying penguin! It's amazing! And is it just me, or does Sonic look just absolutely terrified in that bubble? Maybe he's claustrophobic? This game also has a surprisingly weird plot. I don't have the instruction booklet, so I honestly don't even really know what it is. All I can tell is that Sonic is in it, Tails and Eggman. Knuckles sabotages you, like in Sonic 3, but then you end up saving Knuckles at the end of the game. And, what, Knack the Weasel? What, why? Why is he here? He's barely in the game. Alright, well now that I've given my brief thoughts on the last 2 8-bit Sonic side-scrollers, let's move on to the 5th and final Sonic action-adventure on the Game Gear, Sonic Blast. So, the first thing that probably catches your eye is the graphics. They went for a 3D rendered look similar to that of Donkey Kong Country. It looks okay, but honestly I think the other 8-bit Sonic games looked better. A lot of the time the backgrounds are just really bland and murky, and they never really look as good as the other games. And what is Sonic doing here? Convulsing slightly? Oh, he's waggling his finger. Oh, I could barely even tell. It's almost like they sacrificed detail and polish just to have this game look 3D. Ish. Not really, even. Still though, the graphics are at least unique, and they're kind of impressive for an 8-bit handheld game. But the character graphic takes up way too much space on the screen. I mean, look at this. This game is even more zoomed in on Sonic than the last 2 games. What's the point of putting so much of an emphasis on graphics if you can't even see most of it, or play the game properly? But don't worry, this game is so slow that it doesn't matter that it's so zoomed in. They thought of everything. This game is very slow, and it feels super sluggish. Even when using your spin dash and going over loops, you never feel like you're actually going fast. Hell, if anything, there are loops in this game that actively make you feel slower. Sonic can sometimes barely gain enough speed to make it through one. It's just, why? Why the hell is this game such a step backwards? Sonic Chaos was so good. Hell, compared to this, all 4 of the other games were amazing. Even at their slowest parts, they still felt better than this. Like most Sonic games, there are special stages, 5 to be specific. Beat them and you can earn a Chaos Emerald, collect all 5 and you unlock the good ending. I sadly didn't get many of these special stages myself though, because in order to enter them, you have to find a giant ring hidden somewhere in the level. Okay, Sega, Sonic Team, I'm gonna explain something to you that I think it's been a long time coming. I think you need to hear this. Sonic games aren't about exploration. There's a way to do exploration without slowing you down too much, but rarely does Sega do it right. Putting stuff hidden in a larger open world, it works. Making the things that you're looking for easier to find, like in Sonic 3, works. The hidden stuff in this game, no. All of the 8-bit Sonic games does not work. I hate having to search through these levels in order to find the Chaos Emeralds and special stages. I refuse to do it at this point. It's not fun. And it's not even really worth it either. These special stages aren't fun at all. They look awful, and it's often really hard to tell where the rings are. There's like no sense of depth. And I often can't even tell whether the rings are in the air or on the ground. But hey, exploring these levels isn't that bad. Well, it is, but just stick with my sarcasm for a minute. It's not that bad, because they went the extra mile in this game and gave Sonic a double jump in order to make the platforming easier. Well, that's all well and good, but whatever happened to, you know, running fast, and skipping over water, and power-ups? I miss all of the fun power-ups. I even miss the not-so-fun power-ups. This game just has nothing. This water level sucks. Not because you drown a lot, these tubes actually fill you with air apparently. This level is just a maze. I spent so long just jumping in and out of these tubes before I finally got through this level. The bosses in this game are all extremely easy, and aside from getting lost from time to time, the only thing making these levels difficult is the slow and clunky controls. So does this game have anything positive going for it? Well, technically it's the only side-scrolling Sonic game for the Game Gear where you can play as Knuckles. So it's got that. If you absolutely need to play as Knuckles, like if your life depended on it, then play Sonic and Knuckles actually, it's much better. But if you don't own a Sega Genesis and you are dying to play as Knuckles, then play any of the other many Sonic games where you can play as Knuckles. But if you can't play any of those games, and the only console you own is a Game Gear, and Sonic Blast is the only game that you own, and your life still depended on it, obviously, then let yourself die. Don't play this game. I joke, but really, playing as Knuckles in this game isn't even really a positive. He doesn't have the double jump like Sonic does, and his glide is pathetic. It's completely useless. Plus, Knuckles can't collect the Chaos Emeralds in the special stages. He only gets 1-ups. So you can't even get the good ending if you choose to play as Knuckles. And speaking of the ending, the final boss is extremely easy. It's unique and kind of fun. Mostly just unique. But yeah, it's a pretty lame fight to end the game on. Apparently, if you collect all of the Chaos Emeralds, then there's a second final boss, but I'm not devoting my time to that. No way in hell. As far as I'm concerned, this is the final boss. Easy, short, and very underwhelming. Actually, I guess that's an appropriate final boss for this game, the more I think about it. This game is easy and short. While most Sonic games have 6 stages, this game only has 5, causing it to feel very short, even though it's technically only 2 levels shorter. And of course, the game feels very underwhelming, can't forget that. It's so underwhelming that I can't even think of much else to say about it. This game is a lot slower than the other games that came before it, and it's really just a huge step down in every area except for graphics. And even then, it's more of a sidestep because I personally don't think that this game looks any better than the others, just different. So this game really, honestly, has no positives for me. There's no reason for me to ever play it again. It doesn't even have very good music. It probably has the worst soundtrack of any of these 5 games. The first 2 having probably the best. So, my final thoughts? It's a bad game. Don't play it. There's absolutely no reason to. If you're gonna play any 8-bit Sonic game, play Sonic Chaos. It's actually really surprisingly great. But Sonic Blast? No. There's no real reason for anyone to play this game, because when you get down to it, Sonic Blast just isn't very fun. Even as an 8-bit Sonic game, it's just not fun. Not unplayable, it's not cripplingly difficult, it's not 100% awful in any way, it's just not fun, and it's not very good. And that's all you're getting from me today, folks. Now if you excuse me, I have to go dust off my old Dreamcast.